Welcome people of the internet, welcome to this new video by the Chira. I'm Alessio Migliucci, you've got the title, you've seen the thumbnail. You know what we're gonna talk about today. That something is Trump's win in the 2024 American presidential elections, and in general, my opinions as a European socialist about the current state of American democracy. Um, yeah, okay. I'm already starting to question my choice of words there, but you're gonna find out why in an instant. Now, first of all, I think we all know. I mean, if you're watching this video, if you follow this channel, you know that you should feel super bad about Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential elections. Because, I mean, if you're a queer person, a trans person, a non white person in the US right now, 4 years of not so nice time lie ahead of you, and therefore I think that's enough of a reason to be really puzzled by Trump's victory, which is gonna be a very bad thing for our comrades and brothers in the United States of America. One of them isn't white and isn't cisgender and doesn't match the silhouette of the American, the only type of American that the American right is willing to accept. But I also want, and we all agree on this, and we all know that this is on its own enough of a reason to be super angry at Trump. That's enough of a reason to wish that Trump wasn't there. And I mean, we don't really need additional arguments to get to the conclusion that this situation is super shitty, but we need additional arguments and additional discussion to understand exactly in which ways it's gonna be shitty, like precisely. And in order to do that, I want to share with you, as I said at the beginning of this video, my opinions as a European and a European socialist, more specifically. Now, first of all, yeah, in Europe, we have spent a lot of time discussing how this thing is going to influence us. Not because that's the only metric based on we evaluate what happens in the United States. We are not that selfish, not all of us anyway, but we want, of course, to know how we should manage ourselves in the future. And I've seen a lot of people in Europe being like, oh, but this is actually going to be good for us because when Trump is going to reduce mutual integration between the United States and Europe, Europe is gonna have to manage everything by its own, and that will slowly push us closer to a federalist, unified model as a European Union, which is actually gonna be great. That's what some people have said, and I really wish they were right because, of course, I believe that a federal Europe, a United States of Europe, is where the future of our continent lies. It's the only way I think that Europe can maintain not only any kind of relevance, but can become a bastion of progress and maybe, if the left prevails, also of social justice. I hope it does. I mean, Europe, we have right governments spawning like mushrooms, and that is very bad in my opinion. But I mean, maybe a federalist Europe could be the first step towards a more left-leaning and eventually more socialist Europe, which is, of course, something I'm willing to look forward to. Now, the point is, I don't think that the prediction made by these people is correct or makes any kind of sense because, yes, if the first objective of any kind of European politician was to keep Europe's power projection towards the world as great as possible, yeah, that would be a reasonable prediction to make. The point is, that's not the case because to a politician who by definition has as a primary objective also always power. Okay, now we have done a little bit of um, um, political science on this channel, so we have gotten to the conclusion that a politician's objective has to always be power because if it wasn't, then that person wouldn't be a politician or wouldn't be an elected politician or wouldn't be in power in the first place. Yeah, being this the case, to a politician, power projection are only relevant in the short term, and therefore I do not think that that's enough of a reason to balance the right wing governments that are being established in Europe. Like, I think that the reasons of Le Pen increasing influence in France, the Meloni government in Italy, and the situation in Poland or Hungary, all these things are mostly due to causes much more deep than the simple interaction with America. I don't see any reason why Trump's elections should change those, and therefore I do not really believe that the main reasons why we ain't gonna move towards a federalist Europe anytime soon are gonna be. I don't think those reasons are going to be removed by Trump's win the 2024 presidential elections. We are gonna have a small incentive to go in that direction, but that is not gonna be enough. Now, probably I'll make a video about internationalist ideas and federalist ideas in the future, but right now I just would like to underline that I think that the only way Europe is ever gonna become a unified state and power is via multi-tier integration system, an integration system where some countries are allowed to keep their sovereignty without hampering other countries' attempts to integrate and become a unified federation or a unified confederation. But I mean, the federal model, all confederations either disappear or become federations. So yeah, but we're not gonna talk about that specifically in this video because we have analyzed the I've told you very briefly. I don't want to make an analysis here, as I said. I just want to share how I feel about this. I've shared with you how I feel about the internal political situation of America. I share with you how I feel about the influence of Europe. Economically, Europe is gonna get screwed over as well, of course, because in the Western world, the main source of economic growth is constantly the growing interaction and interconnection between countries, and being this hampered by Trump's win, which is gonna make America a little bit more isolationist. I don't see any way that inflation, prices, and stuff like that are gonna skyrocket in Europe in the following years. So, if a European, be afraid because tough times lie ahead. Now, the last point I would like to touch in this opinion video. Well, yeah, I'm using the term opinion, but as Kant would say, opinion implies that those are subjective, but I'm objectively right about everything, of course. Not trying to flat stare, but the facts are on my side. An additional point I want to make is that I am having trouble. I mean, I've seen many people saying that Trump is gonna crush American democracy. It's the end of democratic America as we know it. I think that is a little bit exaggerated for sure. I mean, listen to me. For sure, Trump is gonna solidify his power in a way that is not democratic, and for sure his control over the country's institution in the future is gonna resemble much more the one of totalitarianism, the right word. It's gonna resemble much more the control that a military dictatorship has than the kind of control that a properly democratic government has. Assuming he implements Project 2025. Like, if he doesn't manage to implement Project 2025, that's fine. That's gonna resemble Trump's first term, and we all know how that was, which is shit, but still technically democratic, in my opinion, as far as American democracy go. But which is not very far, but still. Instead, if we assume that he's gonna successfully implement Project 2025 in all its aspects, which is perfectly possible, his control over the country, the institution, the political personnel, is gonna be a little bit worrying. It's gonna resemble a dictatorship in many regards. If you ain't politically aligned with him, you're gonna be fired. That's basically what Project 2025 is, giving Trump absolute control over the American institutions, letting him getting political control over every institution and forcing them into the Republican fall of power projections. That's what Project 2025 is, which of course isn't democratic at all. That's dictatorship like. But I don't think that's enough to say that America is gonna stop being a democracy. I mean, in 2028, there's gonna be another election, and the person who will win that election is gonna become the following president, and I don't think Trump will be able to do anything about it. He will try, yes, try to cue the American government in 2020. Okay, 6th of January was an attempt to a coup d'etat, but he failed once, he'll fail again, and in that regard, America is gonna resist as a democratic country. But yeah, even there, I still feel kind of puzzled because maybe I should put this thing at the beginning of the video because that is like the main point of the thumbnail you saw. But I have a lot of trouble even accepting that America is a functioning democracy. Like I pretty much feel like America is an outdated democracy. It was very democratic for the time it was built in, which is the end of the 1800s, the 1700s, sorry. But at this point, its institutions are kind of outdated. Like the Electoral College was built to handle slave states, abolitionist states mechanics, and slave states don't exist anymore. So that's as outdated shit goes. So yeah, just consider the Electoral College, for example. The vote of a person living in Rhode Island is going to count 6 times as much as the vote of a person from Texas or California or something like that, because of those 2 additional votes that are given to everyone, to every state. You know how the Electoral College works, and that thing alone is enough to make me feel very puzzled about American democracy. As do the American lobbies. Like when I see the power that elected organs and bodies have in America, I'm like, yeah, I mean, the will of the people and the votes of the people absolutely matter, but the government has power, but that power always has to compromise with the capitalist elites. There's a bourgeoisie in America that holds a lot of political power and is capable in terms of power projection to confront the government as a peer. Like if you consider the power that people like Elon Musk have in America, like you might think just of the bullshit he says on Twitter, but if you think about that, if you take all the people like Elon Musk in the United States, all the lobbies, their power projection is comparable to the government's. And at that point, can you really call it a democracy? Like, I guess, but that's a very partial democracy. That's a democracy that always has to, confront and make deals with the capitalist class, and therefore the capitalist class, therefore not being elected, despite not being elected, despite being an oligarchy, despite being not a class built by the will of the people, still has a huge lot of power in the United States. And if that is not enough to make you think that America is a democracy just between quotation marks, if that is not enough to make you think that America is a partial democracy, I don't know what is gonna. Just think about healthcare. Okay, yeah, healthcare is not free and public and universal as it should, and that is due to American people's stupidity, but that's also due just as much to the bourgeoisie's interference. And when a basic right is denied Also because of an oligarchy's decision. Yeah, I mean, how you gonna call that total democracy? I don't really know. So yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about American democracy. I want to conclude this video, which probably no one has watched this in its entirety because who would? But I've done that anyway. Like I want to conclude this video just saying that if you're an American, and if you are proud to be American, just done. Okay, the country you live in is a partial democracy. That's a third world country in terms of rights given to the people compared to Europe. You don't have universal healthcare. You have the death penalty. You ain't a democracy, not in the first sense of the word. You're just a partial democracy. You don't give your people all the rights they deserve. You ain't a force of progress. You ain't a force of social justice. You're a force of inequality. You're a force of capitalist interference. You are a force of oppression for the proletariats of the world. That's how I want to conclude this video. If you're an American and you hate me, I'm sorry, but again, I'm objectively right about this. I hope you enjoyed this video, but I also hope you don't, because the less you have, the better job I've done puzzling you. I'm joking, but not as much as you might think. See you, I hope, in the next video of the Natura. That was Alessio Miliucci, which is me. See you. Goodbye.